Hey, good morning, YouTubers. Today I'm going to be walking through the steps of how to address a common issue and leaky suspension. This is a 2007 Audi A8 D3, and yep, right rear suspension is leaking, and hopefully you can see it's a pretty quick leak there. You can see it moving down. So I have purchased a replacement used strut, and we'll walk through the steps of how to get the old one off and the new one on. First step is to get the car into lift mode. And you can see my car is trying to pump. You can maybe also hear the air compressor running. And I've noticed over the past week that the compressor rarely takes a break because of the back rear suspension strut keeps leaking. So, yep, put it in lift, get it at its highest point. And when it's done, we will put the car in jack mode. Switch to on. I'm going to wait for the air compressor to be done. Fills up the tanks. No lights are on. That's a good sign. Alright, there we go. Jack mode on. Okay, you got to get the car jacked up, of course. Get the wheel off the ground, and we're going to take the wheel off. I'm sure you know what the standard size is there, so we'll do that next. Alright, we got the wheel off, laying over there. 11/16 is a socket that I use to get the lug nuts off. Next thing we're going to do is remove the inner wheel well liner. Torx T25 bit is what I use to get those out. So be right back, and then we'll start getting the old strut out. All right, once you get the Torx T25 screws out, there's these nuts that you have to take off in the back, and there's some up underneath the wheel well here. I think there's about 3 of them. Calls for a 10 millimeter socket. Not going to show up on camera, but trust me. Okay, we got those nuts out, and really it's just start to get your fingers in there, and you'll see some where those bolts are. You have to kind of finagle it off and then slide the whole thing out. Obviously dirty and dusty from all the road grime, and now you can start to see where the strut's connected there, and there's supposedly we got to undo the air line, and then there's supposedly 3 bolts that are holding it up on top there. So I'll be right back. I think this is to disconnect the air line. I believe it's 10 millimeter, but I'm going to do that next, and I'll confirm. Okay, I was right. It is a 10 millimeter wrench to loosen the air line, disconnect from the air residual pressure valve, and then the next thing we're going to do is disconnect the electrical connector. Probably just a flathead screwdriver, or maybe even with your fingers, press and pull that out. Alright, we got the electrical connector disconnected there. There's also a brown wire here. I'm assuming that's to ground. I'm going to slide that off as well. And now I think we can tackle those 3 bolts at the top and get the top off, and then we'll work on the the bottom side. All right, next thing we got to do actually is to remove the little air tank brackets. And there's two 10mm nuts holding on, and they were kind of covered up by the little plastic holders to keep the wires in place. So 10mm, we're going to take those off next. Okay, to get those top 3 bolts out, 1/2 inch is what we need. Socket with an extension, of course, and we'll take those out next. All right, I got all 3 out, and these were very easy, not torqued very hard at all. The tricky part was getting behind the back side over here to get the last one out. All right, so the next thing is we're going to take that end off, bolt, and let me check what measurement is, and I'll let you know. Okay, got the lower strut bolt out. 18mm. Nut goes on the right, bolt goes on in from the left. All right, next thing we're supposed to do is disconnect the ride height sensor. So I'll be right back. All right, the ride height sensor is right here, and it's 10mm. I'm gonna have to put the phone down, be right back. All right, next thing is to disconnect the brake line holder, also 10mm. All right, the last thing we gotta disconnect is called the sway bar bolt. So if you're on the passenger side, the rear, which is what I'm replacing here, it's down here. So gotta maneuver and also get a wrench on this side. So 5/8 or 16mm is what I'm using to disconnect there. All right, got the sway bar bolt. Oh, that took forever. That's a long one. So all of the vertical holds are now disconnected. It's still in there. I can kind of see the fitting in here. Kind of is like a slotted. So I'm going to grab the hammer and just kind of tap on the top of this, and I think that will loosen up the strut, and we'll go from there. Should be able to just come right out after that. All right, I got the strut out, and here she is. The trick to getting it to come all the way out was to, not only do you have to take the airline out, but you have to take the residual air pressure valve all the way out. That released tension, what was left in the system, and allowed it to compress. And a little finagling, you get it off the axle. So you can see the part number on the, again, this is specific to the position. So right side, rear is that part number 4E0616002F. All right, before I start putting the new one in, I thought I'd show you what I'm replacing it with. And there's a local junkyard Audi parts dealer. I bought this. It's off in Durham, North Carolina. That's the part number I'm replacing it with. So same partner, except it ends in 2Q. This is the place and Audi. Then they highlight or promote lifetime guarantee on replacement parts. So $300 is what I spent on this. Maybe overpriced, I don't know, we'll find out, but that's the last time I have to spend money on it. I may have to replace it again, but as long as these guys are in business, I go back to them and get another one. So let's get started, and we'll reverse everything and get it back in there. One quick side-by-side inspection. Everything appears to be in order. I'll have to take the residual pressure valve off the old one and put it on this one. Didn't come with that part, but that shouldn't be too big a deal. All right, let's get back to reassemble. All right, just to finish up the job, new strut's working out. So good luck with your car.